Welcome to A Taste of Justice. I'm Professor Angela May Kupenda. I'm a professor at Mississippi College School of Law. I've been teaching for about 30 years, but our views here, our interpretations are my own and are not to be ascribed to my school or to my students. This semester, I'm continuing the series, and I am posting some shorts, just some short clips. I'm trying to stay under 10 minutes to give some brief explanation of some of the constitutional law terminology. Let's get right to it. Today, we're going to talk about the Article 4, state privileges and immunities, and distinguish between 14th Amendment, national privileges and immunities by using a case. And at the end, just a little bit of a story. Now, that may sound boring to you, but it is quite important, especially for those of you who are interested in and who are following the discussions about state rights and states' determinations. So Article 4 of the Constitution, the court has said that Article 4, state privileges and immunities, is to give protection to non-residents of a state. You see, a state is allowed to look out for the needs of its residents and to protect its treasury, but to a degree. I mean, for example, if a state says, for all of our public schools, we're going to purchase only milk and only fruits and vegetables from local farmers, the Constitution, the court has said that's okay because the state is acting as a market participant, and it's okay for it to prefer its markets. But what if a state says, we don't like outsiders at all? We don't like new people moving here. We're going to put some rigid restrictions in place to discourage individuals who we may believe to be undesirables from becoming residents in our state. We're going to place a hefty tax on people their first 3 years as residents. Now, that's probably unconstitutional. The court says that, of course, for some things, a state may discriminate between residents and non-residents, but it must be for a very important purpose, a reason, and the restriction or the discrimination must be no more extensive than is necessary. So likely in that last scenario, the court would say that was unconstitutional. See, the idea is we are all one nation. We're all one nation. And while states must, of course, look out for their residents, there still is a fundamental right to travel and to move from one state to another. Now, let me tell you about 14th Amendment national privileges and immunities. Now, you go and you Google these and you read the text for yourself. Now, 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment, you know, about the Reconstruction Amendments after the Civil War and after the end of legalized slavery in this country. The 14th Amendment has something called the National Privileges and Immunities Clause. The idea initially was that the former slaves who were then freed should be a part of the national community, and that there were certain privileges and immunities of national citizenship that they should all be entitled to. The right to vote in federal elections, for example. Now, you may say, how is all of this connected? It's all connected to a case called the Slaughterhouse Cases. The Slaughterhouse Cases. And I've given the name and the date in the text box so you can Google it and read more for yourself. And you can run a check on my interpretation and see if you agree. Now, the Slaughterhouse Cases occurred in Louisiana. And Louisiana said, the state said, we're concerned about safety. We're concerned about hygiene. So we're going to only allow one corporation for, I think it was 25 years. They would have a monopoly to perform certain types of slaughtering work, or slaughtering business. Now, there were quite a few butchers in the state who said, now wait a minute, hold up, state. You are depriving me of my livelihood. You're giving this monopoly to one corporation. There is a constitutional problem here. That's what the butchers said. So they argued that it was depriving them of their Article 4 state privileges and immunities. Now you already know the answer. The Supreme Court saying, oh, Article 4 state privileges and immunities, that refers to a state treating non-residents lesser than it treats the residents. And you all are residents. So the Fourth Amendment, Article 4, state privileges and immunities would not apply there, according to the court. Then the butcher said, well, you're depriving us of our livelihood. That is a part of our national privileges and immunities. As a citizen of this nation, we ought to be allowed to engage fully in our livelihood, and you cannot take away our rights to give to one corporation for 20 odd years. And the court said, well, the 14th Amendment was initially designed, the national privileges and immunities, to help the former slaves. The court said, we're not saying it only applies to them, but then the court said, it doesn't apply to you. It does not. It's what the court held. The court said that a national privilege and immunity is something like the right to vote in a national election, the right to engage in interstate travel and the like, things that emanate from national citizenship. The court told the butchers the right to engage in their occupational livelihood, and under this state regulation, at least the right not to engage in agree, was not a 14th Amendment national privileges and immunities. So you may say, look like the court sort of gutted, in a way, national privileges and immunities under the 14th Amendment. That doesn't sound like they mean much, because those rights are available under other parts of the Constitution. Well, a lot of scholars agree with you if that's your argument. And some even say that new life needs to be breathed into 14th Amendment national privileges and immunities. Look, these privileges and immunities are so important, the national ones, and for states to treat outsiders and insiders, that they all should be entitled to protections even within the boundaries of the state. I did not travel very much outside the state and I'm from Mississippi, for my first 20 years. But after that, I would take quite a few road trips traveling from here to there over the coming, a long time. And it wasn't uncommon for me when I would stop somewhere at a gas station, ask to use the restroom. This was in the late 1970s. It wasn't uncommon for someone to say to me, "Girl, you're not from around here, are you?" And sometimes I would be told that even within my own home state of Mississippi. So the idea of state privileges and immunities and national privileges and immunities, that we all can have a home here in the United States, and then we can move from state to state and enjoy certain rights, privileges, and immunities. Now, I know you want to know more about this, but this is a short. Remember, I'm supposed to be doing shorts. So Google those constitutional provisions. Take a look at the Slaughterhouse case for yourself. Learning is so very important. Learning is on the path to enlightenment, and enlightenment to justice, or at least to a taste of justice. I'll see you next time. Thank you.